Good morning. We'll call this meeting of the Land, Water, and Forest Resources Committee to order. Roll call, please.
Steve Karayanen,
Here.
Randy Newman, Kay Wilson. Here. Jim Evans, Dale Magnuson. You have a quorum.
Thank you. Let's rise for Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of
the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Certification of compliance with the open meetings law.
This meeting was noticed to the media and the public as required by Section 19.84 of the Wisconsin statutes.
The meeting agenda has been set. Next, we move to public comments. At this time, members of the public are given the opportunity to address the committee. Please adhere to the following when addressing the committee. Comments will be limited to 3 minutes or less per individual. Comments should be directed to the committee as a whole and not directed to individual committee members. The committee cannot respond to your comments during this time. Please sign in and fill out a public comment sheet if you wish to speak on an item if you already haven't. First, here we have David Wegener.
Good morning, everyone. My name is David Wegener. My wife Stephanie and I reside at 11123 West Chief River Road. We are full-time residents, and I'd like to discuss my opposition to the proposed Lake District for Callahan and Mud Lakes. Starting off, our piece of property is completely landlocked from the lake. We do not have lake access. I can't see the lake from my property, yet somehow I was included into this proposed lake district. I can't get to the lake from my property. I have no lake access, can't see the lake. I had sent a letter out to the board members, including a map. This is the map right here. This is the lake. This is my piece of property right here. You can see how far away I am from the lake. Yet I was included in this lake district. I have absolutely zero access to this, and so I feel, my wife and I both feel that we should not be included in this lake district boundary. I am formally asking to be removed from that lake boundary. I have zero access. There's no reason that I should be included in this. When we purchased this piece of property 3.5 years ago, we purposely looked for a piece of property that was not on a lake because we have limited finances and I didn't want to have to worry about high lake taxes, lake property taxes and such. And so we chose this piece of property based on that. And now I find out that I was included into a lake district boundary. And the other part of this is other than the fact that I was asked to sign a petition, which we did not sign, that was the only other contact I had about this entire lake district until just a week ago when I had spoken with some other people that told me about this and how far this has went. It's very concerning to us that this process has went along and we were not notified, we were not told about this. It seems very underhanded to us, especially when we're in a location, again, that we have zero lake access to. So I feel like this whole process seems to be a little skewed, and the fact that I was included into a lake district that I didn't even know about is very concerning. So I ask you folks to think about this and look at how this process has went. Again, I am formally asking to be removed from this lake district boundary because I have zero access to the lake, can't see the lake. I also have other neighbors that are in the exact same position as I am. Their properties, same thing. They have zero access to the lake, yet they were not included in the lake district. So I'm wondering how and why I was chosen and how we were pulled into this lake district boundary. So I ask that we formally be removed from that. Looking to you folks to help with that. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up is Lynn Amundson, please.
Lynn Amundson, 10745W Callahan Lake Road, representing Callahan Mud Lake Association and the Exploratory Dam Committee. We want to thank you for the positive letter of recommendation that you drafted and submitted to the Sawyer County Board of Supervisors for our proposal to become a lake district. We understand we are standing in front of you today since the Board of Supervisors has asked for more discussion and your input to those that are requesting removal from the Lake District and some other questions that have arisen related to the boundaries. Please reference the letter written to your committee and submitted to you on December 6, 2024, and I resent to all of you yesterday, which details our justification for the forming of the boundaries of the Callahan and Mud Lake District. Also consider the wording in Wisconsin Statute 33 that suggests that all properties that could reasonably be considered part of a lake community benefit in various ways from the existence of the lakes and draw value from their proximity to the lakes and therefore should be included. We ask that if there are any questions related to those that would be removed from the boundaries, with the exception of those that we know are on Falcon Ridge, to please review the GIS maps to see that these properties would be directly impacted, their riparian owners, if the dam is removed. Also, please note, our request includes vacant properties with waterfront access, shorelines, which may be developed in the future. We're actually seeing new construction already taking place on the west side at this point. As we continue this process, there remains many unanswered questions. We look forward to future discussions with the state of Wisconsin, Sawyer County, the town around Lake, and the Wisconsin DNR. We ask for your ongoing support. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Rhonda Isold.
Good morning to y'all. My name is Rhonda Isold. I live at 11007 West Chief River Road. First of all, I would like to thank all the committee members here today that voted for the resolution at the board meeting last month. Each of you clearly stated that the county board should have the legal authority to address the length of time that a lake district can exist, the ability to reauthorize a district, and the ability to monitor the work and performance of a lake district. The Callahan Lake Association obviously overextended their proposed boundaries for a possible lake district. Included within these boundaries were 10 properties located below the dam and many landlocked properties included on both lakes. The overextended boundaries will result in many property owners being burned with increasing property taxes, which could be over 30%. These property owners might also be subjected to a special tax assessment, which will affect the value of their property for years. Fortunately, the county board has the absolute right to remove properties from the proposed district under Wisconsin state statutes. The statute does not require any reason for any property removal, only the approval of the county board. This committee has the right and the opportunity to recommend the removal of properties from the proposed district. The Lake Association consistently has argued that the boundaries are right, and it is very unlikely that the Lake Association will remove these properties at a later date. The county board must take action to remove properties if it is ever to occur. I respectfully ask that you recommend removal of our property and other properties from the proposed lake district. This would include all properties in Exhibit G and now any properties discussed by other citizens during the open discussion today, such as Mr. Wagner. This is especially vital if the Lake District is later approved by the entire county board. My property is included in the 10 properties in Exhibit G. I do not have any lake frontage. I do not have any view of the lake. My frontage is on the Chief River, and I regularly receive mail from Sawyer County asking about our contact information in case the Tiger Cat Dam fails. Property to the north of me on the river with the same type of water frontage was not included in the Lake District. So why was my property? I do not believe that any private organization should be given the opportunity to increase our property taxes. I do not believe that our property taxes should be used to put chemicals in the water, and that is also a goal of this lake association. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Linda Zilmer, please.
Linda Zilmer, Edgewater property owner, and I wanted to speak to this committee about planning for transition. There will be a transition in the leadership of the staffing of the county, and probably it would be best serve this committee and other committees to understand how the 2024 budget was developed as far as each department's staffing, wage rates, their mandated services, and the services that they provide. With regard to that, I'm requesting that this committee place future agenda items on, some sooner rather than later. One is the timeline and the process for the required update of the Land and Water Resource Management Plan. That involves public participation, and the committee might best be served by getting an explanation of how that will be done. It may be something that carries over between your term, which ends in next April, and the next board coming in. Have already mentioned the staffing and individual pay rates for both the land conservation and zoning departments as well as forestry. And when it comes to the recent discussion about strategic planning, if each of the committees of jurisdiction better understands what their departments do, which has been somewhat missing under the administrator form of government, I think the committee and the county as a whole will be better prepared for changes. Thank you.
Thank you. Greg Isold, please.
Good morning. Greg Isold, 11007 West Chief River Road. I have been paying taxes, property taxes in Sawyer County for close to 30 years. I have been visiting Sawyer County for over 60 years and have been paying sales taxes. Sawyer County owns 7 dams that I have been maintaining and replacing through their special funds, which comes from my taxes. I don't feel I should have to pay for another dam through a lake district. Why hasn't the Lake Association told anybody about the dams that Sawyer County owns? Why has anybody from the Lake Association ever talked to me about why I have to pay for a dam through a special assessment? I don't belong to Lake Association because I don't believe in putting chemicals in a lake. On March 31st, 2017, I woke up to a virus that left me deaf in 1 ear and has caused me many problems. It forced me into early retirement. I don't have as much as I wanted financially that I had anticipated. I struggle because I could really use new hearing aids. I need special hearing aids, which would cost approximately $6,000. Where do I keep getting more money to cover all my expenses? I'm living on Social Security disability. It's not like I can get another job. I also had lung cancer and issues with my heart. I have a lot more bills than I ever anticipated when we bought our property here. For me, paying for a dam is on the very bottom of my list of things that I want to pay for. I've never asked and will not ask for any handouts. I never thought that a group of people would ever try to take money from me the way the Lake Association is trying. They should be appalled at what they are trying to do to me. If they signed a petition to pay for a dam, I would not stop them. However, I did not sign, and I request that you recommend removing our property from the proposed lake district. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next item is, oh, excuse me. Yes, sir. Please. Mr. Hanson, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Martin Hanson, 11078 and Robin Lane, Hayward. I'm speaking today on behalf of myself, and I want to thank the committee for taking the time to learn about lake districts. My comments are about lake districts in general, not specifically Callahan Mud Lake, but the comments are in general, it would include Callahan Mud Lake proposal. First, I was disappointed in the resolution this committee forwarded to and passed by the county board requesting legislative changes to give counties some oversight control over lake districts. One of the reasons cited was to enable the county to end a lake district when the project is complete. Lake districts are designed to be autonomous and do not need county oversight. They are controlled by a board of commissioners which are elected. The county participation is by the requirement that one member of the commission is appointed by the county. Lake districts are not formed for a project. They are designed for the long term, yes, in perpetuity, unless lake district members vote to dissolve the lake district. Lake districts allow for the orderly execution of plans to maintain the environment, lake quality, water safety, and other public good activities. Currently, on many lakes, this is funded by voluntary contributions to lake associations. While voluntary contributions are welcome, they cannot be counted on for a steady income stream to meet the needs. In addition, voluntary contributions don't come from all persons benefiting on the lake, sometimes in the range of only 50%. Lake districts allow those costs to be spread among all persons benefiting from the lake. Finally, I urge the county not to change lake district boundaries contained in any petition by a lake district. I concede that the definition of benefiting from the lake is broad and subject to interpretation. However, I know of at least one property owner near me that lives a mile from the lake. They come up for 2 weeks every summer, and for those 14 days, they tow their fishing boat down to the lake and benefit from the lake every day they are here. However, the statutes require 51% of owners within the boundaries to approve. When this standard is met, the organizers have carefully chosen the boundary after many iterations and discussions, and ultimately the 51% or more have clearly accepted that boundary. The county should not overstep this process and modify the boundaries. There are methods within the Lake District operations to modify the boundaries in the future. Let the democratic process work whereby the majority position stands. If there are obvious errors in the description, correct the error. Don't exclude the parcel just because of a technical surveyor's error. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Next, item 7, approval of minutes of the previous meeting. Anyone care to make a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes from February 12th.
Second.
Thank you. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next, item 8, Callahan and Mud Lake District petition. Care to take the lead on this, Andy? Get us
Sure.
up to speed?
Yes, it was put back on this agenda since this is the committee that heard the petition request, that had the public hearing, and provided the report to the board. I know since in the process of that, there's been some additional public comment as well as training provided by Wisconsin Counties Association on lake districts. So this was an opportunity for the board and the committee to ask any additional questions or considerations. And at this point, since you've already forwarded the report to the board, it's in the board's hands at this point, anything that you would want to address and forward to the board would be a recommendation that the board could take under advisement at the next meeting when they consider the petition. Primarily, the really only thing that at this point that, the petition has been filed, the report's been filed, the only thing that you really could make a recommendation on changing would be the district boundaries and the inclusion or exclusion of those properties. So that's why it's on the agenda for any additional discussion in that regard.
So it's up to us to
If you
either
want.
go with the current boundaries or make modifications that we deem necessary.
Right,
to those boundaries.
and those, any modifications would be a recommendation to the board to change the boundaries.
Do we have any ideas on what modifications, if any, might be better than what we're currently looking at?
I believe it's 10 people. My personal belief is I'm not in favor of anybody being taxed more than they have to be. I think they all have good reasons not to be included in that boundary. And I'd be in favor of cutting them out of that boundary.
And these are folks who have expressed to us.
Correct, the 10 people that have sent emails and spoken at the podium and expressed their concerns.
Does that involve pigeonholing or is it, or keyholing, excuse me?
I don't think so.
No, Falcon Ridge was one area that was mentioned specifically as an area that where the lake isn't even visible and there's no access. So that, I'm assuming that would include much of what you're referring to. Plus perhaps Mr. Wegner's property. Excuse me?
I don't have that original map in front of me.
Hang on.
You have the original map.
Yep.
Or the specific properties. That one I don't have in front of me.
Let me just pull it up. Hang on.
Actually, we don't. I know the names of the people.
Just let me connect to the screen here. It wasn't.
We have the maps.
Make this as big as I can. So there's the green line shows the proposed boundaries. The red one at the bottom has been removed. And then the ones that have requested removal are the ones highlighted in red. Those are the ones that I believe Mr. Wagner's property is up here. We don't have that down as a request, but it's on the far northwest corner. Is that, yep.
The reds are, I thought there were 10 of them. I can't see it.
Yeah.
1, 2, 3 up in the far left.
6, 7, 8, 9.
Oh, there are a number on Vulcan Ridge.
Smaller parcels on Falcon Ridge, yes.
Yeah, if we've had, I would have to go back to see when we last updated the requested removals. But not all the properties on Falcon Ridge. We haven't heard from all of those, I know, that have asked for removal.
Those two in the northwest, the ones that we asked about, is this map an earlier version? This isn't the people who requested. Is this a,
This is the owner requested
Is it-
removals.
Andy, is there any way you can email it to me real quick so I can get it
Ma'am?
on my computer,
Sure.
see it better?
Um, it looks to me like they put a lot of work into this boundary here, the group that put this together, they went through a long process of, establishing these boundaries. It looks to me to just cut out a few here and there, that I can see will have benefit to the lake because they're in close proximity to it. Shouldn't be excluded from the Lake District, as a whole. They're close, they have close proximity to it and they will be benefiting from a dam that will hold the water stable in the lake so that they will mutually benefit from the dam. In all fairness, everybody's got to pay their fair share. Well, I think the process, they put a lot of work into this, here, and they should, the board, I think, should follow through and see where it goes on the county level, and the board. So that's my opinion.
I don't have, the one you sent me doesn't reflect that.
So yeah, we turn the parcels on and off over here.
Okay.
Just so the whole idea of keyholing, there's no black and white, like can or can't do. It's one of the things they advise on not doing, just to clarify that, but you can remove properties in the middle of the district if you want to. There had been a request, so we did add one. I have a hard copy here, but also as far as a boundary adjustment based on lake access. So there's another view on there that shows which properties have lake access, and that's hashed on the screen.
Is that the last one you sent?
Yes.
It's my understanding, Andy, that the commission that's formed can also change the boundaries.
Yes, they can remove properties from the district as well.
But they're not able to add properties?
So,
I run into this problem here as a contractor, doing roads for a private road for parties. And I don't know how many times I've rebuilt the road and for the group of people that live down the road. And most of them will pay split the cost to all the owners on that road. And but there'll always be the one or two that won't pay. So the other ones have to pay the full amount, it's not equal share. I run into that problem all the time in these private roads for people, and this is kind of the same thing. Everybody in that surrounding that lake should have a equal cost in the improvement of that lake.
I'd like to make a recommendation that we accept the boundaries that were formed by the Lake Associate, or the Lake District, and move that recommendation to the county board.
I'll make a second to that.
Any further discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Item 9, events. Discussion and possible action. Any events we should?
No applications for this month.
Thank you. Register of Deeds report.
Good morning. I've been working on reports and I will have a quarterly report for next month's meeting. Does anyone have any questions? Thank you.
Thank you. Land records and county surveyor reports. Land Information Office report.
Good morning. So as part of the packet, you have Kimberly Peterson and Chris Gregory's report. In addition to that, Kimberly and I attended the WLIA conference this month, or in February. At that conference, first off though, it's a good conference for us to go to. The WLIA stands for Wisconsin Land Information Association. It serves as a good kind of pep talk to get you motivated for the rest of the year. And it's a good reminder of the current technologies that we have to work with, and it lets us connect with our counterparts at other counties. While we're talking with our other counties, we're able to meet on Act 235, which is judicial shielding going into effect next month. And we talked about our aerial photography that's going to be flown this spring. We're getting 3-inch aerial photography, and that's better than what we've gotten in the past, but that's also in line with what everyone else is currently getting at this time. We're on a 5-year flight cycle. Some counties are doing it more, but obviously, we keep it at a 5-year cycle. We see things change within 5 years for sure, but I don't think we need to change that cycle at this time. We're getting 3-inch this year with help from grant funding that's covering half of it. Aside from that, we are looking to collaborate with the state cartographer's office. They've got a data portal, and we can utilize their data portal to host our own open and free data so that people who need subsets of our GIS data can go there and get it without us having to, make it for them. Yeah, if you have any questions on the reports, you can ask me.
Thank you. Real property lister report. Okay, I guess we've got that in our packet. The county surveyor report.
Is that? No.
Okay. All right, next we go to forestry, county forestry report.
Okay, for the month of February, we did have 11 sales listed as active. I see I've got a little misprint on the top there, but we did have 11. And as you've heard, we did have road bans go on a little bit early this year. On average, we're usually about March 15th. So nothing terrible, but a little bit early. No real issues with contractors. We didn't have any wood stranded or anything. So we're in good shape there. So 2 sales closed out in February. Sale value sold and uncut on file is just over 4 million. Revenue for February was a bit over 150,000, so our year-to-date is just over 400,000. So we're going pretty well, so where we should be coming out of winter. Sale inspections are on target for the level of activity. We did have 1 tract turned in for review. Additionally, we're working on our spring timber sale bid prospectus right now. That should be going out the first week of April, so that timber sales will be up for approval at the May meeting. Recon acres are on target. We didn't do any additional hours for Good Neighbor Authority this month. We're still working through our reimbursement request and final approval on our for year 26 contract agreement. Nothing new for Oakville Mountain Bike or Berkey Trail. For ATV, UTV snowmobile trails, we are working on our grant applications for a deadline of April 15th. Additionally, we did decide to close trails a little early this year. That's starting today at noon. Typically, we do an April 1st to May 15th, but we flex that around to try to match the conditions on the ground. So we're a couple weeks early on the closure, but we should be opening up a couple weeks early if spring progresses as it should. I don't have anything new on carbon credits. I think, Andy, you had a call with them that I wasn't able to be on.
Yeah, I'll have a full printed report from them for next month.
Okay.
We did just a quick call to go through where they're at, and just the quick thing I'll add is that it looks like they're about 3 months out from the credits being available for sale if everything keeps tracking the way it is. So they do anticipate those being in the marketplace certainly this year. No guarantees on any money coming in this year, but things are. I mean, the due diligence and all that work has been done, and they are marketing the credits already, but they should be available for sale, I guess, between second and third quarter, around there sometime. I think we did report earlier, just as a sign of good things, that Bayfield and Iron County have received money in their fund from sales of their credits. They're ahead of us in the process.
Okay, thank you. Wisconsin DNR report?
I got a little bit more yet. Sorry. Additionally, I did meet with the representatives from the Sealy Forest Trails group last week. They are revising their proposal a bit scaled back. Right now, we have a meeting set for either the 19th or 20th to meet with the user groups to go over this new proposal and discuss any concerns. Waiting to hear back from a couple people to get that set. So we should have something for April for a new look at this project. So.
Great, thank you, great. DNR report.
Yes, good morning. It's good to see all you again. For those who don't know me, there's some unfamiliar faces in the room. I'm Brody Fisher. I have recently taken the position of the Forester Ranger out of the Hayward office, but I am still conducting the duties as the county liaison until that position is filled, which looks like possibly in June. However, so the DNR has been continuing working on sale establishment for the county. As the spring warms up here, we're shifting gears and starting to look at preparing our equipment for wildfire readiness, as well as preparing some prescribed burns on the county, on county lands and state lands. Other than that, Greg had mentioned about preparing sales for the spring bid opening, and that I have a lot to do with that as well. So been chugging along through that too. So if anybody has any questions of me, feel free to ask. And that's all I have.
Thank you. No one from the Forest Service was able to be here today, so we'll switch over to the recreational trails report. Anything more on motorized? Non-motorized, please.
Motorized, good morning. My name's Tim
Motorized.
Davison. I represent Sawyer County Snowmobile Alliance. I am the trail maintenance summer winter coordinator. I work hand in hand with Greg and his department on maintenance of our trails. And I just want to say thank you guys for all the support you give us. We appreciate it. We are doing a lot of work on our motorized trails in the county. We're adding hundreds of thousands of dollars of maintenance money into it every year. We appreciate that. Trails have come a long ways in the last 5 years, a long ways, getting better and better every year. Different user groups are using them, different avenues. Snowmobilers are gaining from that because the trails don't have the big rocks in them anymore. The UTV, ATVs are able to navigate them better without being in the mud and hitting the rocks. So if you have any questions, I'm here to answer them. And if you want my contact info, you can get it through Greg.
All right, thank you. Any questions?
Thank you.
Thanks again. We'll move to item 13, zoning and conservation department. Conservation Department update.
Yeah, so the tree sale is still available and still open online with trees available to purchase. With the melting snow conditions, conservation staff is scheduling their starting process for non-metallic mining inspections. That's for the gravel pit inspections to accurately calculate. They use a GPS tracker to go around the pit to calculate the areas of the pit. Also to verify that there isn't illegal stuff in the pit, such as tires or asphalt shingles and stuff that can't be in gravel pits. We also hosted a young conservation professional network. Staff set up on-site inspections for shoreline stabilization projects and went through walkthroughs as to what to do scenarios. We had 12 people attend from the Northwest counties. The Northwest Area Technical Meeting for Wisconsin Land and Water was also held, and as well as the annual Wisconsin Land and Water Conference, which took place March 4th to the 7th. We will have a report given to the committee in April for that. DATCAP reports have been submitted, and staff met with NRCS for field work and bank stabilization. I met with our engineer for the Fish Trap Dam replacement project. That plans for the dam replacement have been now sent to the DNR, and it's in DNR's hand for review. DNR has an indefinite timeline for their review process on those plans, but we are anticipating now a replacement project for the fall of 2026, spring of 2027. We are also looking at a potential land swap in that the portion of that dam that's actually owned by the county, our proposal for the replacement actually goes further downstream and into someone else's land. So we are looking at a 1-to-1 land swap with some land above the dam for some land below the dam. I've been in contact with that property owner. He seems reasonable to the request as long as he doesn't have to pay for any of the cost of recording or transferring of deeds. If that request is to move forward, it would come back through this committee as a potential land swap with that individual, and that we would hire county surveyors and propose those deed swaps. The initial project came in with a 20% inflation of $671,000, which is still below our budgeted amount of $800,000. Again, of that total amount, 50% is going to be covered by the municipal dam grant. We did receive and were approved that grant, and we are following within that grant cycle. This Fish Trap Dam, we've heard a lot about dams over the last several months. This is a county-owned dam, so the county is solely responsible for the repairs and maintenance of that dam. Where if the county is to take on another dam, we are then solely responsible for the cost, repairs, and maintenance of that. So it's always been, at least in my tenure here, that the county did not want to take on any additional dams because they end up costing quite a bit of money for the county. I do have a few other updates. That was one for the Fish Trap. And just again, that we are anticipating that land swap potentially coming back through this committee. I do have a meeting with the DNR next Friday afternoon for the Billy Boy water levels. Those that have been on this committee long enough have heard some of the discussions that the Billy Boy Dam, which controls Lacoudere, Grindstone, Little Lacoudere, and in turn Whitefish. That there was an error observed in previous administration as to where that water level should be kept at. When it was first brought to my attention 3 years ago, we altered kind of where we've been keeping that water level and actually dropped the water level about a foot across the entire system. We've been working diligently with DNR over the last several years now to potentially make an amendment to that, or as even an official water level request. It sounds like the DNR is on board with doing a temporary fix to that as kind of like an exploratory water level. So we'll see what transpires as part of next Friday's meeting, but it sounds like they're going to allow for a temporary increase in water level as a trial run to see, how that affects the rest of the water bodies. The only other update I have to share is we received notification earlier this year, it might have even been late of last year, that Birch Lake, which Birch Lake is part of Lake Chetek, and the Birch Lake Dam actually located in Washburn County. We are a 50% owner of that dam, and Washburn County had an engineer go out errors to do an inspection on that dam, and it looks like there are some repairs that are needed on that dam as well. Somewhere in the tune of $10,000 is what is being requested of Sawyer County to help fund the repairs needed for that. That was not identified as part of any CIP request. So there is a potential that we might be making a budget amendment adjustment later this year for that additional funding. But with that, any other questions?
Thank you, Jay. USDA report, please.
Good morning. I'm Nicholas Basasi. I am the district conservationist for the Natural Resources Conservation Service that covers Sawyer County. Our field office is located in Ladysmith, and we cover Russ, Sawyer, Taylor, and Price in conjunction with the Medford field office, which I also supervise. I just wanted to give you an update on 2024 and where we sit in 2025. So in 2024, we primarily manage two different programs, the Conservation Stewardship Program, which is a 5-year commitment with farmers, and then the Environmental Quality Incentive Program, which is really, you might want to call it a one-off program. There's a gully in a field. We contract with a farmer to install a grass waterway, and once it's installed, payments are issued and the contract's over. Whereas the stewardship program is this rolling conservation program over 5 years. Last year in Sawyer County, we obligated 6 conservation stewardship program contracts between forestry and conventional ag land farmers, totaling $305,216. And we did 5 additional EQIP contracts totaling right at $170,000. Already in FY25, we've kind of increased the workload here in Sawyer County. We had 22 program applications for the Environmental Quality Incentive Program. So far, 8 of those applications have been funded to the tune of $615,809. And we've had 10 CSP applications. 4 were from a rollover sign up that were already funded for $154,300. And we are processing additional 6 applications that will be ranked and hopefully selected for funding here by the end of April. On a side note, the Farm Service Agency office, which is also housed at the same address in Ladysmith that covers Sawyer County, has had all their staff that were currently located there retire. And they are going to by appointment only on Tuesdays and Thursdays. And staff from the Barron field office will be coming over to help with that. They're getting a plan in place to make sure crop reporting and the normal functions on the FSA loan side and just all the other programs that they handle on that half of the office maintain continuity of operations until the federal hiring freeze has expired and they can replace staff. So with that, we've been working a lot with everything from farmstead to grazing, conventional cropland type contracts, as well as there's been a lot of interest in forestry type work on private lands, which is where our sole focus is. And invasive species control is one of the main thrusts that we're pushing on. Parts of Sawyer County have issues with buckthorn and honeysuckle, and we work directly with private landowners to attempt to address that. So any other questions for me today?
Any questions? Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Item 14, tax deed foreclosure process. Administration and management of tax deeded land ordinance. Discussion and possible action.
A couple, first thing, this was a late addition to the agenda. I did email it out yesterday as well to make sure you had a copy. Does anybody want a hard copy? All right. So the backstory here is that there was a Supreme Court case of Tyler versus Hennepin County, which changed the way nationwide states and local municipalities are having to approach tax deed properties. The primary outcome of that is that, previously when the county sold the tax deed property, there was, you recovered your back taxes, but there might be proceeds above the sale. Above the sale might be higher than the back taxes. The county was able to retain those funds, and the county is no longer able to do that, or at least you have to make attempt to track down the prior owner and return those funds to that individual. Anything above the back taxes plus any administration and carrying costs. Often when we take a property, we have to hold it till it goes to sale, so you're incurring potential utilities, or you're having to mow the property, or you're having to secure it. So we do have expenses on top of the back taxes. So the state passed Act 216 in 21, and then another Act 207 in 23 to address the sale of tax deeds as a result of that court case. And I guess I'll just drop in here at this point too. Now you're going to hear about the county being sued. It is as part of a class action suit against all counties in the state of Wisconsin related to this Tyler v. Hennepin, as the plaintiffs in that case are going to attempt to, I believe, try to go back prior to the court case to recover any proceeds that counties retained above back taxes. So that case was just filed a couple of weeks ago. We just received the filing last week, and all the counties have referred that to their insurance company as a liability. And so it's very early, but if you hear that the county is part of a class action suit, we are with all the other counties. So back to the ordinance. We had introduced this in November. Treasurer at that time asked to hold off to do additional investigation with other counties. All counties are in the process or have already amended their ordinances to incorporate Act 207. There are some specific things that you have to do as a result of the state and change, as a result of the change in state legislation. Right now, the only, this replaces section 2413 in our ordinances. Right now, our 2413 is one sentence long. The county elects to adopt the provisions of Wisconsin statute 75521 for the purpose of enforcing tax liens in such county in the cases where the procedure provided by such section is applicable. So we were following state statutes. This goes into more in depth, obviously. Per the state legislation, we have to have by ordinance a right of the former owner to repurchase the property. And then we also have to meet some specific timelines as far as once a property is taken, how long we can't just sit and hold it. We have to advertise it for sale and with some specific methods of how it's sold. So if you want, I'll just run through this ordinance and explain it. Definitions: establishes beneficiary heir, what an owner occupied single family residence is for the purpose of tax deed process, and tax deed lands, and those are refers to state statute. This says that the county is going to provide with the provisions of statutes as listed 7535, 36, and 69. The county board, with adoption of this ordinance, delegates to the county treasurer and this committee the power to acquire, manage, and sell tax deed lands including the power to determine which properties to acquire. The county board recognizes that there may be properties where it is undesirable for the county to acquire the property through the process set forth in Chapter 75, and again delegates to the treasurer and the Land, Water, and Forest Resources Committee the authority to make that determination. In April of each year, the treasurer will provide a report to this committee listing all the properties the treasurer has refused to foreclose upon with a reason for such refusal. If a property is not required for any reason authorized in this section, the treasurer shall notify the appropriate assessor and request that the value of such property be reduced. So, there have been properties, I think, that the county has not taken in the past. This still allows that. Sometimes we look at a property and it's going to be I'll just use an example of one that exists in the town of Coudray. It's a former gas station. It's contaminated. So at this point, the county has elected to let that sit and not take it on back taxes because it would be a liability to us to have to address. That's a choice that the county has made. See, number 4, within 20 days of the acquisition of the tax deed land, the treasurer shall notify the former owner by registered mail or certified mail sent to the former owner's mailing address and the tax bill that they may be entitled to a share of the proceeds of a future sale of the tax deeded land. Within 120 days of the county's acquisition of tax deeded land, the treasurer shall determine the appraised value of the tax deeded land. The appraised values will be approved by this committee or be done by a certified appraiser as defined in Wisconsin statutes. And so that's what we've done in the past is the treasurer works with actually staff to come up with what the appraised value is, what we believe the appraised value is. Then that's provided to the committee, and that is what it moves forward to try to sell the property at. So either the committee does it, or if you didn't do it through the committee, you could hire a certified appraiser to do that work. Number 6, the following provisions in this section relate to tax deed lands that are owner-occupied single-family residences as defined in the definitions. This section in the sole discretion of the treasurer be applied to tax deed lands that are not owner-occupied. May be in the sole discretion of the treasurer be applied to tax deed lands that are not owner-occupied single-family residences. So within 60 days of the county's acquisition, the treasurer shall provide notice to the former owner, of the former owner's heirs, or the former owner's beneficiaries, the right to repurchase the tax deed land. Such notice shall be mailed to the former owner's last known address. If the former owner or the owner's heirs or beneficiary notifies the treasurer of an intent to repurchase the tax deed land within 90 days of the date the county acquired the tax deed land, the treasurer shall order a title report from a title insurance company showing all liens of record against the tax deed land in existence on the day prior to the judgment of foreclosure in favor of the county, the cost of which shall be paid in advance by the person notifying the treasurer of the intent to repurchase the tax deeded land. If the former owner or such former owner's heir or beneficiary provides proof of satisfaction of all liens of record as established in the title report within 30 days of the date of the title report, the treasurer shall direct the county clerk to convey the tax deeded land to the former owner or the former owner's heir or beneficiary by quitclaim deed, provided the former owner or such former owner's heir or beneficiary has provided the county with funds necessary to satisfy all costs and expenses due to the county as provided in Wisconsin Statute 7535. So that is the ordinance or the statute required process for giving the prior owner preference to repurchase the property. Number 7, unless the tax deed land is repurchased under Section 6, within 240 days of the county's acquisition of a tax deeded land and 180 days for tax deeded lands acquired on or after January 1st, 2026, the treasurer shall publish on the county's website and either publish a Class 1 notice or advertise on a multiple listing service the availability of a tax deeded land for purchase and the appraised value of the tax deeded land as determined in Section 5. Publication shall include information regarding the same method of sale to be utilized. So again, those timelines are now established by statute, and the treasurer can either publish on the website and a Class 1 notice in the newspaper, or number 2 would be utilize a realtor to get listed on the MLS, the multiple listing service. Number 8, the treasurer is authorized to sell tax deed lands by open or closed bid or engage a licensed real estate broker or salesperson to assist in selling any tax deed land. The treasurer may accept the bid most advantageous to it, but at the first attempt to sell a tax deed land, every bid less than the appraised value of the tax deed land shall be rejected. Tax deed land previously advertised for sale may be sold for any amount determined by the treasurer and approved by the Land, Water, Forest Resources Committee, but only after advertising the sale of tax deeded land by publication of a Class 1 notice. Under Wisconsin Statute, Chapter 985, no tax deeded land may be sold for an amount that is less than the tax deeded land's appraised value determined under Section 5, unless this committee has reviewed and approved such a sale, and no tax deeded land may be sold for an amount that is less than the amount of the highest bid, unless this committee prepares a written statement available for public inspection that explains the reasons for accepting a bid that is less than the highest bidder. The treasurer shall notify by mail the clerk of the municipality in which a tax deeded land is located of the sale of the tax deeded land at least 3 weeks prior to the time of sale. Number 9, that section is pretty consistent with the process we used before. Is what was in state statute, but we're actually putting that in the ordinance now. It was more of a policy within the county. The treasurer shall send to the owner any proceeds to which the former owner is entitled under Wisconsin statute by a certified mail to the former owner's last known address. If the payment to the former owner is returned to the county or otherwise not claimed by the former owner within 1 year following the mailing of proceeds, payment shall be considered unclaimed funds and disposed of pursuant to Wisconsin statute 5966. Neither the former owner nor any person making a claim for any funds under this section is entitled to interest on sums owned by the county. Number 11, section 7, 8, 9, and 10 do not apply to the withdrawal and sale of county forest lands, nor to the sale or exchange of lands to or between the county and a municipality of the state. And number 12, all sales and conveyances of tax deeded land under this chapter shall be executed by the county clerk under the clerk's hand and seal of the county.
Andy, I had a question on 5.
Yep.
It seems kind of roundabout that the treasurer would make an appraised value, or we would get a certified, appraiser. Excuse me, it seems like we should start with a certified appraiser.
Guess you have the choice. I mean, most counties do it themselves just because of the expense of hiring a certified appraiser. Go look at all the properties. You can use fair market data that we have for the treasurer to set the prices and then bring them to the committee to have them approved by the committee. But ultimately, it's your choice.
That I would have the ability to recognize the proper appraised value. So I'd have to go by the treasurer.
And when we've done that in the past, it's, the treasurer has brought in, like, this is the parcel, this is the appraised value, this is the justification, like fair market value or other sales, or whether the property is wooded or underwater, or they give you a little bit of information when they've done that prior. You haven't seen, I don't think you've seen the treasurer bring those numbers before?
Maybe once.
Okay.
Yeah.
Me too.
Yeah. Yeah, honestly, we're probably a little behind in getting some of these sales put out there.
Well, aren't them properties tax deed? You have the fair market value on the taxes. We
Yep.
can see a history of what the value of that is by our information that we have on our tax deeds. So there might be some extenuating circumstances that maybe it burnt down or something, then we might have to need a valuation, but I would think you'd be able to just take the tax deed and figure out a fair market value on it.
Yep. That's normally what happens, because it is still, the market sets itself. I mean, you're putting a number together that you believe is the appraised value, and then you're putting it out for a bid. So then the market's going to determine. Usually what happens is the property sells with what the market price is. If it doesn't sell, then you look at if it doesn't sell, either there's no bids or nobody was willing to bid what we set the appraised value at. So then you adjust it down and put it back out for sale.
Yeah, we've done that.
We've done that part before, yep.
Thank you for that explanation.
Jay, can I ask Jada?
What is the county's current timeframe on county acquisition?
5 years.
Okay.
But I believe we're gonna go to 3 years. That was not.
Should that be put into this?
It's the discretion of the treasurer. It could be put into that, but by statute, it's 3 years. In statute, that's what we're gonna plan to follow is the state statute now, so it'll be 3 years. And I guess what Jay's asking about, for whatever reason, it's not a written policy of the county, but past treasurers have taken them after 5 years. When you can do it after, because you issue a tax delinquent after the first year, and then they've got 2 years to pay it. So 3 years is the effective timeline of when the county can first take a tax deed property. But for whatever reason, I don't know, the county has waited until 5 years to do it. But I think switching to following statute, the treasurer can do it at 3 years. There's some advantage to the 3 years, especially with the residents part of this, that if we want the prior owner to have the right to repurchase, and do we want to have, if we're going to end up taking it, selling it, if a house sits for 5 years, you've got 2 more years of loss in value of the property.
I think to Jay's point, it should be included in the ordinance that what we have decided rather than having a policy that in the department that you don't know about.
If you wanted that added right into the ordinance, we can take it back and put that in there.
I would agree to that, but what do you all?
Good.
I'm just looking at the resolution here, and that would be where in the resolution? Is there a, right in the opening?
It could be under 2. Oh, you're on something different.
Yeah, so it's, it references the comply with the provision of statutes in the ordinance, but if you want the 3-year timeframe in the ordinance, we'll take this back and add that in and bring it back.
Okay. All right. Do we
You-
need a motion? for
Sure,
that?
yep.
I make a motion that we send this back for additional clarification of the time frame for when we would take back tax property of 3 years.
Second? Thank you. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Thank you. Motion carried.
Are there any other parts of the ordinance you want me to address? Edit or anything?
Anybody else? Thank you. Okay, item 15, board appointed committee updates. Anything else we should know about? Item 16, correspondence, reports and conferences and meetings.
Did we approve the resolution then, or do we have to approve the
No,
resolution?
we'll bring it back next month.
Okay.
Future agenda items.
That one.
That one, yes. And we are adjourned.